What's up YouTube? Today I'm going to be talking about the best generation of Walkman to purchase. I do not have the whole timeline of Walkmans, but I have from like about the late 80s to early 90s all the way up into the 2000s. I'm using these as an example because this is where I really noticed a drop in quality. I have here some Sony Sports Walkmans to give an example because I have mostly Sony Sports Walkmans because I like the weight and heft that they have and also the durability. But without any further ado, let's get started. First, we're going to start off with the late 80s to early 90s. These Walkmans definitely have a lot of heft to them. They're more heavier Walkmans. That can be a pro or con, depends on you. And we take a look at the insides. You can see when you hit the play button, there are some guides for the tape to make sure it stays on track. There are metal pinch rollers, which is not seen in all of the models from this era, but some of them do. Some of them have the plastic ones. And most of these do have the auto reverse feature, which is a button that switches the direction, but it keeps the tape head in place. It's usually a 4-track tape head, so the tape head does not need to move. So these ones are pretty good. The only con about them is they are getting old, and as you can see, that stopper right there, the plastic, the rubber I mean, almost had it, and also the plastic may be a little bit more brittle. Now this is more of a model that you'd see in like the late 90s. These ones usually have some sort of digital thing. Not all of them, but I would say about half of them do, which this tends to go bad after a while just from opening and closing in it on certain models. And you can see here the guides are gone. There's no more guides on there for the tape. It looks more empty, looks more cheap. Still got that metal plate, but I took this out to clean out some battery corrosion, and there was almost nothing to the tape mechanism. So these ones do definitely see a drop in quality, but it's still a pretty decent player overall. They do still contain the anti-rolling mechanism, and they're still pretty durable in my opinion. Now lastly, we're getting into the ones from the 2000s and beyond. This one I have a lot of gripes with because it does have a lot of issues and shortcomings to it. First, we're going to start off with looking at the tape mechanism itself. I don't know if you can get the lighting good or the camera can focus, but if you can see inside there, it's basically empty. All you have is the pinch roller and the capstan and the head. And another thing I want to note with these particular models, and even the ones from the late 90s, if they do have auto reverse, the head moves up and down, which I feel like would affect the azimuth, which can affect the quality of the sound, but that's just my opinion. And another thing I want to show you on this one is there's no anti-rolling mechanism. If you watch that, and while I hit stop, you'll see that the spindle spin after I hit stop. See that? That's not good for playback, and it could also affect the quality of the music if you're being very active. And lastly, I want to mention about these ones is they made the pinouts on these headphone jacks smaller, so therefore if you're using a headphone jack like say the Apple ones where there's 3 pins, the ground pin will not line up, so the audio will sound distorted. You would have to buy an adapter like this, so then you'd be able to listen to this Walkman properly. So I would recommend, if you're going to buy a Walkman today, to go for these earlier models, but keep in mind that the models like from the 80s or early 90s, they may be a little bit more brittle because of the age and may need some work, or extra work I should say. But I definitely avoid these unless you can get a really good deal, because these are still better than what you'd find on the market today, but not by much. But that's about all I got to share with you for today. But until next time, thanks for watching.